Good evening and welcome. Tonight is April 21st. It is a Tuesday, which is unusual, but because we had to do it for the BOCES budget vote and board elections. That being said, we are presently in session. We could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order is getting our agenda in order. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. I saw hands. Are there any items that anyone would like pulled from the consent agenda?
No, thank you.
No? Okay. Then can I get a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Items removed from the consent agenda were 2 donations. One was for Frank G. Lindsay. It was I believe it was books. The other was TIAA CREF, also Frank G. Lindsay. Again, it would be the matching grants for the matching grants, probably a parent who works there. And the TIAA CREF is $200. And could we go just back to the book donation, I believe? Thank you. And it was 75 children's books for Frank G. Lindsay. Just a question, why are we approving the children's books? I mean, we've gotten donations before. I've never seen that donation come through like that. Have to approve for, items.
Yes, we always, because they turn now to be part of the assets of the school district. So
I've never seen that
Yeah.
before.
Mhm.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve
Okay.
I was going to do it afterwards,
Okay.
yes. Can I get a motion to approve the donation of books and the donation from TIAA CREF?
So moved.
Second? In favor? What I was going to say is that if anybody would like to donate the books, according to our librarians, they would be more than happy to accept any books that you have in like-new condition. They can always use books. Children, there's so many kids, they just want to read. If these donations would be very much welcome. And if they wouldn't be used in the library, they can be used in the classrooms, and whatever they have beyond that would go to the public library. So they would certainly never be wasted. So if you have books that your children somebody gave them as a gift, they didn't want to read it, or they just happen to be on their bookshelf that they've only read once, and they've outgrown it, please feel free to bring them to your local school, and the children in Frank G., BV, Furnace Woods, Wash, even the middle school and high school would probably love to have a chance at reading them. So thank you very much, and it would be, it's springtime, spring cleaning.
That's for sure.
Absolutely. We'll hold on audience comments. Can I get the superintendent's report, please?
Yeah, a couple things. One, we are in the middle of state assessment season, grades 3 through 8, math and ELA. We have been asked to report the number of test refusals from those students to BOCES and state ed. We're hovering between 18 and 20%. So 18 to 20% of our 3rd through 8th graders in math and ELA have gone through the procedure to refuse the state assessment. It's a parental decision. There are a lot of reasons for that, and I think what will happen is state education department as well as the federal Department of Education are going to have some decisions to make around school accountability status, some statutes and regulations that are on the books in terms of participation in state exams, which all will lead to a question around funding. So I think if parents have not gotten the attention of Albany and lawmakers and decision makers at state ed, they certainly have now. So I wanted to report out on our numbers. And also, kind of breaking news, our FBLA team, Future Business Leaders of America team, just got back from Rochester, the annual competition. And our chapter, Hendrick Hudson, finished in first place and won the President's Award for Community Service.
Mhm.
So our advisor, Meg Jandrzitz, and her kids are to be commended. It was a great weekend. They represented our school and community very, very well. We had a number of students win individual awards, and we will get that out to our community tomorrow and Thursday.
I'd love to hear about what the community service piece, just that's, because, that's, you think future business, it's, whoever's going to do the most in some sort of, stock game.
Right.
But to actually, community service, I think that's a wonderful thing. I think it makes people realize that there's more to, being a businessman. You've got a community responsibility as well as a business person.
So we'll speak with Meg and the kids, and maybe
Love to
even
hear about it.
later in the spring they can come and inform us on what they did and their accolades and what their plans are for the future.
Perfect.
I just have a quick question about the parents who refuse the state test. If that has an impact on our federal funding, is that going to affect summer school in any way?
Well, the funding typically would take place at the state level. Some of our Title I, some of our Title IIA, in terms of our allocations. So what BOCES has done on behalf of districts, they have advocated to the state education department that the state, needs to advocate for all of the districts that may be at risk federally. So it's not individual Hendrick Hudson contacting Washington and sharing this data. It's the state doing it on behalf of all 700 plus districts.
Okay.
Typically what has happened is we would report these numbers, test refusals, and also students who are absent for legitimate reasons. We would historically report those numbers after the exam or after both exams are given, when we would send all of the test materials back in the student response sheets to the state. What was different this year was the state anticipated a high number of test refusals, so they asked for real-time data on day one of the assessment, I think anticipating they're going to have to look at regulations and make some phone calls to Washington. So it's unknown. I don't think anyone in Albany anticipated these kind of numbers. It got as high as over 50% in some of our districts in our region in terms of test refusals.
70% upstate.
Yeah.
Upstate was
more
even
than-
higher in some.
Yep. So I think there are going to be some very important policy questions that will be asked. One is how relevant. Let's round up, and we had 20% test refusals. How relevant and statistically significant are the 80% of our students' test scores? How statistically significant or relevant are that data to help inform our instruction, our teaching, and how kids are learning? And that's essentially what schools are petitioning the state, saying that you have bad data now because you have such a pocket of kids that didn't
That's
take the
right.
assessment.
What's missing?
And
Yep.
and nobody knows
Who's
what that
missing.
population
Right.
is that opted out.
Yep.
So
So there's going to be a big question in terms of cut scores and 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s, because when you have that many kids missing,
Skews
your
the
sample,
results.
your sample size is low and it skews the results. So I
Mhm.
think this is the beginning of something very monumental in terms of state ed, state assessment, and what that data are used for.
thank you.
Just to let the community know, the best way to really make changes is to petition to the legislature, both local, state, and federal as well, because the No Child Left Behind is due for reauthorization. So I think it's really important to make your voice known, because there will be changes. I think the Common Core is laudable, but I think there are a lot of problems with implementation, as you noticed. So we'll see.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to committee reports. We've had finance, there's actually been quite a few committee reports. There's been PTA meetings, there's been a variety. Charles, you had indicated you wanted to.
Yeah, I went to BV school PTA meeting last Monday, Joe was there to do a presentation on the budget. One thing I really enjoy about BV is they do a showcase before every PTA meeting, and they invite children in to teach their parents about what they're doing in school. But this time they invited our incoming kindergarten kids to come in with their parents to give them an introduction to the building, and they did a few exercises and things like that and worked with them. And so it was exciting to see these new kids building familiarity with the building. Then we went into the PTA meeting and Joe discussed the budget, and they had questions and comments. And one thing I really like about Andrea O'Malley, who's the PTA president over there, is that she has a strict 1 hour limit on PTA meetings. They start at 7, they end at 8, and we're out and done. So we got it all discussed. They did their business and wrong. 2 nights later, they had a literacy night where 10 teachers had about 50 different students and family members come in. Each teacher set up a different literacy workstation where the student and family created a specific tool to work on a specific literacy skill. So they did different tabs, different kinds of things. And then the kids created these, put them together, and put them in there and took them home so that they could work on literacy skills. That was focused on K-2 kids. So it was really fun to sit and watch these enthusiastic and engaged kids. And then last Thursday I went to READ, which is Reed Regional Education Alternative District, Advocacy District. And this year READ has been focused on shared services. Basically, if we don't get 1% savings in shared services this year, our taxpayers won't get their tax rebate check in the fall. So READ has been focused on working together to talk about how to do that and how to get some advocacy around it. Enrique feels that we'll make that number easily. Some of the other districts in the state and in the county aren't so sure that they're going to be able to make it. From the study that READ, or the report that READ did, which is on a website, READ school districts are engaged in over 135 different areas of shared services. They do it through BOCES and formal and informal district and municipal agreements. Some of these have been going back into the 80s, and it saves us. We share professional development, operations and maintenance, energy, social and emotional health, a lot of different things. Through the data that READ collected, it's estimated that there's an estimated savings of more than 15% of the district's tax levy. So since the 80s, these savings have been building up. So READ is now going to have an article over the weekend focused on shared services story and what the outcomes from it are. It'll be in the Journal News. They're trying to get it in other newspapers. They also want each district to write letters, put up a template. They're going to develop a template and put it up addressed to Governor Cuomo, focused on our successes as districts instead of buying into his schools are failing ideas. And then we're going to all reach out to our legislators and try to work with them on creating better rules and better legislation around the shared services issue. And that was what I had.
I was at the Ernest Woods PTA. Just very quickly, the new music teacher out there has a grant, and they're ordering ukuleles for their 5th graders to learn.
Ukuleles?
And, yeah, it's so adorable. Yeah, it really is cute. He's very enthusiastic, and yes, they ordered songbooks, practice books. I think there's a partial grant from the PTA, and we had a little demonstration at the PTA meeting, and it was very nice. So
I'm sure there'll be a performance. That should be fun.
I am sure there will be. So
They'll all wear Hawaiian shirts and such.
Have a canoe?
Huh?
Will they have a canoe?
Oh, God. I
I
don't know.
don't know. I think this is as
That
far
you'll
as I've
have
gotten.
to get the art department like in on that one.
But no,
Do they have order in there?
well, as he said, this is kind of a lead-in to the guitars. Some of the I guess chords are the same, so it's a very nice introduction for kids. He's very excited. I loved his enthusiasm. I think the children will probably be very excited. So I just think it's a novel approach. And
I think it's terrific.
kudos to him for doing it.
Making the
So,
effort,
yeah.
yep. All right, well, thank you very much. That brings us to our first presentation and discussion, and that would be the solar panel project.
So this is an update, a status report of where we are in terms of timeline, funding, implementation. We have been discussing this for almost a year, and back in the winter, we had an agreement to move forward with the study and move forward with working with Siemens to capture some state grant money to begin this project. We are closing in on finalizing the contract and wanted to give you an update on all things solar panel, have a Q&A, and then we would bring you a contract to approve this project at a future board meeting. Most quickly could be May 6th. So with that, I'll turn it over to Enrique and Anthony.
Thank you. Anthony and I have been working in this project since last June. Basically, the project, the sponsors are Siemens and Sun Edison. Sun Edison is the financial arm that will put the money for Siemens. The panels will produce approximately 927 kilowatts per year. And so you get an idea that represents about 40% of our total needs. We are going to install the panels in all 5 school buildings. The high school will produce 131, Blue Mountain 172, Franchi Lindsay 190, Fort Woods 226, and PV 208. So we will enter into a 20-year power purchase agreement to buy all the power that is produced by the solar panel. As you can imagine, the summer is where more power is being produced and when we need the least power because the kids are not in. So all the excess that we don't use during the summer will sell it to the grid, or Siemens will sell it to the grid, and then we will receive the following month a credit for that amount. The rates will be fixed during the term of the agreement, during the 20-year, and the system will be owned by Siemens and will be maintained by Siemens and Sun Edison. So what are the economics of the project? First, it's at no cost to the district. The installation and the panels will be paid by Siemens and Sun Edison. NYSERDA, which is New York State Energy Research Development Authority, has awarded the system, the project, $604,000. The kilowatt for the first year is going to cost us 11.5 cents. And just so you can get an idea, over the last 12 months, we have been paying 16.8 kilowatt hour. The rate will increase 2.5% per year over the life of the agreement. And so you get an idea, over the last 9 years, the bill has increased 5.4% per year. And if we take into account that this is 20 years, probably 2.5 is a very decent rate, very close to the cap if we continue to have a cap over the next 20 years. So what are the benefits of the project? First of all, we'll have lower rates for the foreseeable future. Very important, we'll have fixed rates for budgeting purposes. And this is very important because, for example, last year in May, NIPA doubled, exactly doubled the cost of kilowatt hour because if you remember, during the winter, there was not enough gas, so it cost a lot more to produce the electricity, and they have to make a return on investment in their own assets. So in order to make that minimum return on investment, they can pass the cost to the customers. So for May, when we were running very close, a very tight budget, instead of paying about $34,000, it cost us that month $64,000 in electricity. Obviously, the decrease in carbon footprint, and finally, within the agreement, we're going to have Siemens will help us produce a STEM curriculum related to the solar panels. The timetable, so you get an idea where we were, where we are, and where we're going, is that we started this project back in July when we submitted our grant to NYSERDA. NYSERDA approved it in September. In November, we did an RFP. In December, the board awarded the contract to Siemens. Since then, we've been working in designing the system, and we submitted it to SED. We're still working on the purchase power agreement and the license agreement, and we are almost ready to bring it to the board. We expect to bring it to the board for the next board meeting for approval for the board. The construction and installation will begin in July, and we expect the system to be online by November of this year. That's all. Thank you.
I have a question,
Sure.
and I'm just wondering, you had the numbers up where you said what each school was going to produce.
Yeah.
What accounts for that distinction? Is it number of panels on the roof? Is it?
Square footage of panels.
There's only
So
certain
it's
square
more
footage
panels.
that's usable, and at the high school, you would think it would be kind of like the most, but because of the layout and configuration of the roof, and then you have the cupola, so you have a lot of shading, you have some
Okay.
parapets, so you have shading, so it's not advantageous to put the panels there.
So it's
they-
panels, it's just, that's what I was wondering, okay.
It's actually, I'm kind of surprised that BV has that much because they're.
Shaded.
They-
Shaded, it's very,
And they're
it's
pitched so that
shaded.
they get light in some of them.
Yeah, they base it on the
There's lots
estimates
of
and all the
trees out
rest of
there.
it, and they figure out those angles of attack for the panels, and then they situate them on the building accordingly. And they've been to the building several times, between Siemens and their installer.
Mhm.
And their structural engineer's been here, and our engineer's been here looking at everything too.
And what arrangement do we eventually make on the roof? How's that? Are we doing the roof or are they doing the roof?
In the agreement, we have until June 10th to let them know if we're going to do the 5 roofs or only 3. And that will depend on what our engineer on the septics will tell us it will cost us to fix the septics. We had a meeting with him, and he's very, very comfortable that the septics will cost $400,000 or less, and if that's the case, we'll have money to do the 5 roofs ourselves. But that's going to be a decision that we'll take at the May 20th, when the facilities committee meets before the June 10th final decision deadline. So it's going to be a meeting with all our architects, engineers, facilities committee, to make, for the facilities committee to make a decision, bring it to the board. The deadline is June 10th, so we can let know Siemens who's going to be doing the roofs, them or us.
One of the other benefits is that we're one of the first districts in New York State to be going into this, and that kind of fulfills our innovation, part of our mission to be an innovative school. I think that's another benefit that would fulfill that.
Actually, we had that in the in the presentation, but like we were thinking more about the benefit. Not we agree that that's not a benefit, a tangible benefit. Let me put it that way. It's more moral than tangible. So we took it out, but we thought about it.
I would put it back in. I mean,
Would be environmentally responsible.
for those of us who lived through the energy crisis in the 70s, this was a dream then. You know, to be able to not have gas.
It's a feather in your cap.
Another benefit is we will help iron out kinks for other districts that choose to do this.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your efforts. It looks like it's a year in the making, and truly, for so many reasons, it's of benefit to us. So thank
We're
you.
very excited. We really are.
Yes. Thank you.
It's a
Thank you.
no-brainer. It's wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Our next topic would be the BOCES administrative budget and the board elections. Each school board is required to cast a vote for the BOCES budget and for the representation on the BOCES board. It will be done. We'll do two separate votes. The first one will be for the BOCES budget. I don't have my copy here.
$8,705,000 is the administrative budget.
So, and it's only for the administrative budget
Yes,
that we
that's
vote
all we
on.
vote on, just the administrative budget.
We do, BOCES does provide us with so many services, and they allow us to have our, certain economies, and as Charles talked about earlier, the shared services. It's the original shared service organization. So, do you have any questions regarding this budget, or can, all right, can I get a motion to approve the BOCES budget, for the BOCES administrative budget for the year 2015-16? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Our next topic is there are 4 candidates seeking to have 3 spots on the BOCES board. There are 4 candidates: Karen Conti of South Salem, Carolyn Aversano of North Salem, Catherine Lilburn of Garrison, and Douglas Glickert of Peekskill, New York. These are 3 individuals for a 3-year term. We have been provided with their resumes, and some of these individuals are known to us personally. We have talked about it, and the 3 candidates that we have chosen to vote for would be Carolyn Aversano of North Salem, Catherine Lilburn of Garrison, and Douglas Glickert of Peekskill. Can I get a motion to approve those 3 individuals, us voting for those 3 individuals for the BOCES board? All those in favor? Okay. That brings us to the end of our meeting. Our next meeting is 2 weeks from tomorrow. It will be back on Wednesdays. It will be here at the high school library. Same time, same
Yes.
location.
It's the public hearing.
It is the public hearing for our budget vote. So we would ask you to please come, please, and just hear the final presentation. And that would be 2 weeks from tomorrow, Wednesday, May 6th. Are there any other items anybody would like to bring up, address?
Is there another meeting greet coming up?
There is one, it is on the 26th, that would be this week. We had originally talked about having it, it was sort of a possible. We can have the discussion here if anybody would like to. It was put as a possible, if, we found that there were a tremendous number of questions about the budget. And to be honest, there's not been a tremendous amount of attendance at the past, so.
We have our,
We
The
just had
last
one
meeting
recently.
agreed?
Yes, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, and then
So-
another one on May 16th.
Yes, there
right
is another
before
one on the
vote.
16th,
Yeah,
right
I think
before the
we've
vote.
been-
Yeah.
So I don't know that we,
The last meet and greet, there were quite a few people, but talking more about
it was that state
not
testing.
wanting, and not wanting to lose math support, reading support, and yes,
So the next one will be May 16th?
More than budget.
Is that the
So-
I think it tied in, but.
I think their concerns were addressed. And I know
Yeah,
that
and
all
I-
of these individuals have been in touch with,
And
they
I
have all
have,
of our numbers.
yeah, and I followed up with a few of them and have seen them in other circles, PTA meetings and those sort of things.
So, I don't know that it's, we just had it 2 weeks ago, and we will be having another one prior to the budget vote,
Yeah, I
so.
don't think it's particularly necessary.
So what I would ask is if there is anybody individual that does have questions, to please contact us. All of our information is on the website, our phone numbers, our email addresses, so please feel free to use them and ask whatever questions. But no, we won't be having then a meet and greet this Saturday. If that's it, then can I get a motion to close? Second? Those in favor? Aye.